and I had to move back home temporarily as a result of it. And had I not, my mother had a stroke right after I moved back home temporarily, and had I not been there that morning, she would have died right then and there. Even more so, moving back home allowed me to spend more time with her that I didn't realize I would fairly soon never have again, because a year after that, cancer took her very quickly. And I love telling that story because I speak very boldly that even the most fucked up shit that we go through is perfectly fucked up, meaning it's always for a higher purpose, always bringing us to where we need to be and go. And again, I think I lost 400 grand on that tour. I would lose that a million times over to be able to have been there, to save my mom's life that day when she had her stroke, and again to be able to have time with her that I wouldn't have very time or very soon if it wasn't for that financial blunder. Probably the most priceless blunder that's ever happened to me as a result.
Welcome to Winning the Divine Lottery. I'm your host, Amy Dawes. We've got Dan King in the house today. Welcome, Dan. It's so great to have you here.
So
How are
great
you
to be
doing,
here, Amy.
brother?
Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm fantastic, sister. Thank you for having me.
wonderful. Dan, you are a spiritual conduit, a coach, a speaker, and an author, and you're coined as the rated R avatar, which I flippin' love.
Thank you.
How did you
Thank you.
get that name, by the way?
Because I say fuck a lot. That's why.
Welcome.
Yeah,
Love
you're
it.
well. Yeah, well, I'm pleased to be here.
Yeah. And you also have three books in your Soulgasm book series, which I was very intrigued by. Book
Thank you.
number one is called Soulgasm Foreplay. God isn't religious. Book number two
Mhm.
is called Soulgasm Penetration. Deliver us from ego. Come on. Book number three is called Soulgasm Climax, The Second Coming. How brilliant is that?
Thank you.
Where did you come up with this? What brought you to beginning Soulgasm?
Great question. I mean, as far as what the book series is, it is intended to be an all-encompassing offering, for lack of a better term. Basically, everything, all the basics, the fundamental basics that each and every one of our brothers and sisters needs to know in order to remember who and what they are, what this human experience is, and essentially how to do something about it. So basically, it brings people through um, unbecoming who they're not, so they can be who they are, so they can live their best and highest life. As far as the packaging, the names, the titles, just like my work, I can't really take credit for it. I only take credit for having the balls to do it in a world that doesn't, number one, sometimes doesn't understand it, but even more so is extremely fearful of it.
Hmm.
But that's all from spirit, man. Obviously, a play on the soulgasm term, foreplay, penetration, climax. Sex sells, man, but so does truth. So if we can combine the two, then fucking giddy up. That's the way I see it.
I love that so much. I also
And
watched, yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna add, not that soulgasm really has anything to do with sex at all, although it does have everything to do with falling in love with and maybe even making love to yourself, but it's nothing sexual whatsoever.
Yeah, I love that. And actually, I was going to share with you that I watched your video, your promo video on your website.
Mm,
And I want to quote the very first thing that you opened up with that video. You said, every single thing that you don't like about you is there to learn to love. Please take us
absolutely.
on a journey with that. How did you come to knowing that in your own personal life?
Well, again, I have to give all credit to spirit. As intelligent as I like to think I am, most of this stuff I couldn't have just come up with on my own. This is divine consciousness, and again, my part in it is delivering it in extremely authentic, raw form. But to speak to that phrase, to that point, we're here to learn to love, and we're here to remember who and what we truly are, which is an infinite, intangible being in the illusion of finite physicality. So our soul chooses things that will take us away from who and what we truly are, love. Before coming here, we choose a boatload of things that will fuck us up, if you will. And it's our job too, as the book title out there says, unfuck ourselves. And it's the process of unfucking ourselves where the growth, the ascension, the remembering who and what we are comes into play, which is why we're all here for, or what we're all here for, rather, at the end of the day. So we choose things that we, based on conditioning of this world, will not accept about ourselves, love about ourselves, and not just about our physical selves, not just about our own persona, but we will have others that don't treat us correctly. We will plan to incarnate with others who will rob us of our self-love. Why? So that we're forced to create it from within. Then no one gave it to us, no one can take it away. Then it becomes quite unconditional, and that's the only type of love in existence. Love, the term love is thrown around in this world like a joint at a Bob Marley concert. It comes and goes. Um, and it's not taken as seriously as it really should be. Love is not just emotion, it's not a romantic thing. It is a state of being. And unconditional love comes with a fuck ton of responsibility. To say I love somebody or something unconditionally, it means you got to live that. You can't just say that shit. Um, because unconditional love is a choice. Again, it's a state of being. And unconditional love comes down to accepting things as they are, with the knowing, with the remembering. And I use the term remembering a lot because we all know this shit at the end of the day on the soul level. We just temporarily forget in order to immerse ourselves into this human experience. This is really a game of forget in order to remember. But unconditional love comes down to acceptance with the knowing that everything is as it should be because God, the universe, source, whatever name you want to give to the infinite intelligence behind this world, behind this existence, it just simply doesn't make mistakes. And everything is as it needs to be in order to teach us what we're here to learn at any given moment, which inevitably at the end of the day breaks down to acceptance slash unconditional love.
Yeah. So, what's your journey? Like, how did you come to be Dan King, knowing all this information? Like, what was your own journey? Did you have a journey that you struggled for a certain period of time and then all of a sudden you woke up?
Well, even after the wake up, we still struggle, man. I mean, the growth process never ends. It can maybe become a little easier to take the fucked up shit in this world. Again, with remembering some of the basics, like if it's happening, it has to be happening for a higher purpose. And yeah, the more shit you go through and survive, you start to get palpable proof that everything truly does unfold as it needs to for the highest good. I mean, that takes the balls to look at things. That takes the courage to look at ourselves and our own lives, especially our traumas, and dissect them to see what the higher purpose is, because it's always there. Again, we just need the courage to look. But yeah, at the onset of this happening to me, I didn't grow up like this. I was brought up Catholic, not psycho Catholic, thank God. Thank you, mom and dad. Um, but I was brought up Catholic. I had an open mind though, because again, my parents weren't too Bible thumping, for lack of a better term. They had discernment themselves, thankfully. They never really believed in the hellfire, brimstone, judgment, eternal damnation, all that shit. Do they believe in Jesus? Absolutely, and so do I. I don't believe in Jesus. I know in Jesus, but I also know that other human beings came along after, took that guy's messages and fucked it around to divide and conquer humanity. Um, but yeah, essentially, when this all started to happen, I'd had a successful business for of multiple years. Funnily enough, promoting people like Sylvia Brown, the world-renowned psychic, pardon me, who's since passed. Deepak Chopra was his Canadian promoter and producer for many events as well. As I was going through kind of my own spiritual awakening, I went through a wrongful arrest working for a telemarketing company in my early 20s. That kind of tore my whole physical world apart and opened me up to the worlds beyond this one. So that's when I started to kind of experience some paranormal stuff. Um, that was all rectified because it was a wrongful arrest, but again, brought me to and opened me up to that which was beyond the physical world. As far as me doing the medium thing, that happened. I was just at a restaurant with my one of my homies one day having lunch at Earl's in Winnipeg, and this is about 2006, I believe. And our waitress's dead father came through to me and she got a little mini reading there. I'll never forget. She says, "You're scared the shit out of me." I said, I'm scared the shit out of you. I'm talking to your dead father right now." And that's before she started to bawl her poor eyes out in the middle of a busy restaurant. It was like lunch hour too. And then she just kind of ran away to process, I guess, what had hit us both or slapped us both in the face. And since that day, Amy, it just took on a whole life of its own. A lot of learning on how to discern when and where to use this ability. I'll put it to you this way, because in the beginning, I thought, hey, if it was coming to me, man, it's my duty. It's my divine duty, right? Well, I'll tell you this much, Amy. Big, jacked up, drunk fucking dudes at a bar don't want their personal buddy. So there's a learning curve in that as well. I think I got that down now. I'm not shy. I have no problem speaking the truth, no matter what the consequence. Because I think, hey, speaking the truth and being authentic in this world, it does. It comes with a fucking consequence, man.
Yeah.
A worthwhile one, though. A worthwhile one. Um, so yeah, that all happened actually, and another big struggle that happened after successful years of doing this promotions business. I always wanted to bring this stuff to a more concert-like, entertainment-like level. You know, you go to a speaking or a spiritual event, typically pretty simple production-wise, just a speaker and a microphone, right? But I've always envisioned sold out arenas for these things because it is the way of the world. Never mind the next way of the world. It's the foundation of the world. It's universal truth. It literally is who and what we truly are and what this whole experience is all about. So I wanted to make it more than just almost a boring educational platform as far as presentation is concerned. So I always wanted to bring this to a more entertainment type level to make it more visually appealing, not just mentally and spiritually appealing. So I knew this guy at the time with my promotions company. He was tapped into a lot of these musical acts. So I said, hey, man, I want to do an actual concert tour rather than just these speakers with more production value, with more details involved. I just want to learn to do it because I want to take the spiritual stuff to that level. So he sold me on the idea at the time of Tanya Tucker. Um, and probably because she wasn't that expensive, you know, kind of had her time already. This was in March of 2006. But at the time, she had her show Tuckerville out. It was a reality show on TLC. I don't know if you remember that or not. So I figured, hey, the legend in her own right. Plus, she's out in the mainstream again with this talk or with this reality show. Boom! I can afford this. Let's do it. Well, as my mom used to say, she couldn't draw flies to shit. So lost everything, literally everything financially through that one tour. But again, nothing happens for nothing, man. And I had to move back home temporarily as a result of it. And had I not, my mother had a stroke right after I moved back home temporarily. And had I not been there that morning, she would have died right then and there. Even more so, moving back home allowed me to spend more time with her that I didn't realize I would fairly soon never have again because a year after that, cancer took her very quickly. And I love telling that story because I speak very boldly that even the most fucked up shit that we go through is perfectly fucked up, meaning it's always for a higher purpose, always bringing us to where we need to be and go. And again, I think I lost 400 grand on that tour. I would lose that a million times over to be able to have been there to save my mom's life that day when she had her stroke, and again to be able to have time with her that I wouldn't have very time or very soon if it wasn't for that financial blunder. Probably the most priceless blunder that's ever happened to me as a result.
Yeah, I was just gonna say you can't put a price on the time you get to spend with your
Oh God,
mom.
no. No, God,
Yeah.
no. And again, because that all happened, again, that opened me up more, and that's when I actually started to be able to communicate with spirit began. So it was
That's
all part of it,
incredible.
all part of the process. Yeah.
So when you communicate with spirit,
hmm
how do you receive spirit? Do you hear, is it a feeling, a knowing, or all of the above?
All of the above. Feeling, knowing, vision sometimes, smell sometimes. I hear them. However they need to get through, they'll get through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you're on tour right now, which I
I
love
am.
that we connected and you're coming to Regina. So what
Yes,
can
and thank you
people
for that.
what can people expect or not expect at one of your events?
Well, they're not going to know what to expect, especially
Yeah.
on this tour. Typically, my format for a tour, I do it in larger venues like a hotel conference room or a theater. First half of the show, I'll do a channel talk for about half an hour for the entire group. So Spirit will come through with all things that relate to each and every one of us. Then we'll go to the second half of the show where it's essentially first come, first serve. People line up. Whoever I can get to in the allotted time, they get to ask me a question if they have a specific question, or they say, Dan, what does Spirit have for me? In this latest tour, and I love this, man. I love it so much. It's called Intimate with the Infinite. And what I'm doing, rather than hotel conference rooms or theaters, we're doing it in cool, vibey kind of lounges, pubs, cafes, that kind of thing. And I'm capping it at only 25 to 30 people, depending on the size of the venue and what they can hold. Reason being, I am literally guaranteeing every single person in attendance or reading on this tour. So if you show up, you're guaranteed to get guidance. And again, it could be as simple as you have a specific question, or you can just say, hey, what does Spirit have for me? And they will literally give you what you need to know at this point in your life to live the best life possible. What I love about going more reading heavy, because again, when I do the channel talk, it's for everybody and everybody learns, of course, because it relates to everybody. But even in when it's all readings, if you're sitting there and you're not being read, you're still going to learn from somebody else's reading. We're all the same thing in the illusion of separation. And everything we're experiencing, one way or another, does relate to each and every one of us. So that's probably what I love most. I mean, of course, giving people direct guidance is its own thing and it's priceless and very impactful for the person receiving the messages, but it's so important that people realize that just by listening to other people's experiences, we can learn a lot as well.
Yeah, in my experience, being in community and groups like that, that's always the case, right? Because we're individuals, but we're also in this collective conscious energy. So that's
Absolutely.
wonderful. You're
Thank
a
you.
dad. How
I
does
am.
this influence being a dad? What do you love about being a father?
Oof. Oh, that's a good question, man. That's a loaded question too. Um, I'd have to break it down simply to the love and connection, that just that purity, that unconditional acceptance, the ability to protect and guide. Um, Someone so precious to you, you know? And don't get me wrong, all humanity in its own way is precious to me. People don't understand me in that sense. They don't get how much I fucking care, whether I know you or not. I mean, if you're a human being, I fucking care. We're in this thing together. We're the same thing in this thing together, essentially. But I don't even know if anybody could accurately answer that question ever, Amy. You're a parent as well?
Yeah, I have a 16-year-old son.
Well, I mean, how do you put words to that shit? Right? I mean,
Yeah.
really, how? How? So it just is what it is. It's a priceless, indescribable experience to be a parent.
Yeah.
Um, it's a whole other thing being a father to a daughter, I think. She's only 8, but I'm already shopping for shotguns for when she starts dating. Uh, that's
Yeah.
going to be interesting for both of us.
Yeah. My son actually
How,
just started seeing a girl, so
how's
yeah.
that going for you?
Really good. You know
Yeah.
what I love actually about being a conscious parent is I embrace like every transition, and there's been a lot in the last year. Like the minute he got his driver's license, it was like change after change after change after change. And when I
Right.
get to those moments where I just need to release or cry, you know what I mean? Shed that old identity of that mom that used to be, and now I'm stepping into a new version. I just allow myself to ride those waves, and it's so beautiful to watch him like
Hmm.
enjoy and discover and explore and do life. It's a wild ride.
Absolutely. And actually, as soon as you said to be a conscious parent, you gave me a bit more of an answer. Um, But I think it's specifically in regards to being a conscious parent, not just being a parent in general. I'm just so damn grateful I know what I know now to be able to pass it on to my daughter, to be able to handle situations with my daughter from a higher consciousness perspective.
Mm.
We could be so reactive in our humanity, in our human ways, especially when it comes to those that we care most about. There could be a lot of fear involved behind how badly we want to protect and provide for our children. So the fact that I know what I know at this point in my life when I have a daughter, that's probably the most special thing to me because I know I can guide her in the best way possible as a result.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you for touching on that. She's 8. If your 8-year-old self were here right now, what would you say to him?
I would say you just were able to talk and you have no idea what you're going to do with that mouth of yours, homeboy. And I say that because I grew up with a severe stutter until I was 8 years old.
Right.
Which simply, I know my soul chose that, and I get why my soul chose that. Again, the most fucked up things are the probably the most impactful to us and most beneficial long run. Not being able to do something as simple and as taken for granted by most, understandably, because it's just like breathing for most people. Something so taken for granted as speaking. Um, just allowed me to appreciate it that much more. I've never taken for granted my ability to communicate because it was a son of a bitch to not be able to for the first 8 years of my life. I had a lot to say since the moment I got here, I feel. So since that was healed, I haven't shut up and I don't intend to. They're gonna have to do what they did to me in past lives, and that's fucking knock me off if they're ever gonna shut me off. Um, that's another beautiful story too. It was simply grade three, first day of grade three. I'll never forget it. My teacher came up to me, asked me my name. I couldn't even spit it out. The next day, she called my parents and referred us to some type of speech therapy. And the only thing I really remember about it, because I'd done the speech therapy in school, and it just didn't work. No slight on them. I'm sure they were doing their best. But the main thing was my mom and I sat there during these sessions, and we just played cards, and I listened to classical music with big headphones on. So apparently, there's an imbalance in the ear or something like that. I don't know. Again, whatever the technical diagnosis was or reasoning behind it, I know it was just my soul choosing to ensure that I really, really appreciated and used my ability to speak as I was intended to.
Yeah. That's incredible. So you had it for 8 years, and then what
Yeah.
happened? How did it go away?
Well, like I said, just these sessions where I'm listening
Just that.
to classical music, and over
Yeah.
time, it just went away.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so incredible. Do you think that also
Yeah.
had something to do with the vibration of the sound?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Again, it was apparently an imbalance in one of my ears that was causing the stutter, or so I was told.
Mm.
It's all vibration. It has to be. Nothing
Yeah.
isn't vibration, right? So yeah, absolutely. Again, though, it was for the purpose of have a stutter so that when you heal it, you'll appreciate something. So take it for granted as speaking and do it on a whole other level.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
What's the biggest thing so far in your life that stands out for you when I ask you this that you feel that you've overcome? Like something that felt really challenging and really difficult in your life, and you found a way to overcome it.
Um, Probably what I'm doing right now, as far as focusing on my own healing journey. I mean, I got a lot of stories of crazy shit that I've overcome. Um, But I think it breaks down to our own personal traumas are the biggest things ever in our way. It's the primary things that are hindering our ability to be our true self. And if we're not who we're here to be, we can't do what we're here to do or get what we're here to get or experience what we're here to experience. So I would say it's my taking betrayal so damn personally. That's been a big theme in my life. I'm privy enough to be aware of some past lives where I'm aware that, I would give, well, and also balancing my over giving. Call it people pleasing, I guess, but it was more than that for me. It was a straight up Superman complex. And that one stemmed from past lives of not being able to save certain people, my loved ones being genocided when I was off on a quest, whatever the case may be. I come back and then I took it on my responsibility. I wasn't there to save them. And even in this life, not being able to save my own mother, I know that affected me. And so ever since then, if I would come across a traumatized woman, and I mean, hey, we're all traumatized, man. But I align with the biggies because I'm able to help. But I'm also meant to, with that help, learn I'm trying too hard to help, and people can only receive so much. And then when they betray me or turn on me, I take it on some deeper level, like I've given you all this and you do this to me. No, it's not betrayal, man. People are just coming from their fucking trauma and projecting it on the good people in this world. That's how it fucking works. And then the good people are designed to give too much. So we're all helping each other out at the end of the day. We're all showing ourselves the way home, so to speak. But that was a real biggie for me and still is, to to be conscious enough to know when to just stop and walk away, because people are only ready for what they're ready for. Everyone's on their own timeline, their own path, working through their own process. And what really helped me shift that was to realize that if I'm trying to force somebody's awakening, even unintentionally,
Yeah.
I'm not honoring their path. I'm not honoring their soul, more specifically.
Mhm.
Plus, I'm draining the fuck out of myself and not loving myself properly in the process. So it's not win-win. It's lose fucking lose if it's not being done consciously or at least in the ideal way. So that would be one of my not only biggest obstacles, but still one I'm working on. And I love that this came up, and thank you, because people look at or people can look at spiritual practitioners, speakers, mediums, spiritual conduits, whatever roles are out there, and put them on a pedestal like they're almost non-human, like they transcended humanity and are here to be some Jesus or Buddha-like fucking avatar, who are just this representation of perfection. And that's not the truth, man. It's just
Mhm.
not. We're all going through our own shit. I just happen to be able to do this. I mean, hey, I can help anybody figure themselves out relatively quickly. I still got to figure myself out while I'm doing it. I mean, to me, it's no different than being a mechanic. You need your car fixed, you come to me, you're fucked. That's not my thing, man.
Yeah.
I don't understand anything to do about or anything with that. I just happen to do what I do. And I get it's mystical and misunderstood, so it can be put up as this kind of cool thing. And it is cool, sure, but it's not easy, man. It's not easy. And just because I know what everybody else needs to know for themselves doesn't mean I do for myself. I got to go through the same process. Again, things I've learned in general, consciousness, the way to perceive things, trusting, surrender, all this. Yeah, does it help me out? Absolutely. But I still have a boatload of shit to go through myself. And again, there's one thing that we all have in common. The second we choose to come back and incarnate into humanity, you're choosing some fucked up shit to go through because that's what's necessary. It's about bringing light to darkness. We don't bring light to light. The fuck would that be for? Right? We need to bring light to darkness because that's where light is needed.
Yeah. I love that you're so vulnerable and transparent. I know that we talked about that behind the scenes a little bit. That just, I value that so much. And it's so needed to be shared in that way, especially on platforms like this, because everybody is going through something. And it doesn't matter how much we overcome or unbecome, that we all have those, whether you want to call them core trauma wounds or not, we all have them. And when you were talking about betrayal and people pleasing, um, I mean, I'm an overcoming people pleaser still to this day, right? That's something that I'm still working on myself. And also the feeling abandoned. I guess. So that's something, those two kind of go together. So what would you
Absolutely.
say to somebody who's listening right now, who maybe is just having like this spark of insight from this conversation, who can relate to what you're saying? What would be like your first step to somebody like that in well, what do I do? Like, where do I start?
Well, chances are it's about pinpointing who told you and who made them feel they're not good enough, which is why they're overgiving. They're trying to make up for. They have to do. They've been taught
Yeah.
one way or another, and they've agreed within their subconscious that I have to do or be more to be worthy of love.
Yeah.
And typically, they're overgiving all those people subconsciously trying to give to the one person, let's say a mom or a dad or whoever, that wasn't able to be present or wasn't able to love them properly. So we align with people that on our subconscious remind us of them, same type of people, usually similar issues, to try and get love from that avatar, right? But people do not treat, especially children, you just fucking got here, you're vulnerable. I mean, it's not nothing's your fault. Can't be. Um, so people have just projected their shit onto you, and unfortunately, that's the way it works. Is that we tend to project our shit onto those who we unconsciously or subconsciously know will understand us the most, that actually love us the most,
Mm.
because they're going to take our shit, and then it's up to those people not to take the shit, to lay boundaries. So again, it just shows that everybody's working together,
Yeah.
right? You might have somebody projecting all the trauma and abusing another person. Well, so it's up to the other person to say, "Hey, no, lay a boundary." I'm not the one who created your wound. Stop fucking bleeding on me. And that hopefully brings the other person to the awareness of what they're doing. So one person who would may probably typically take too much shit, learn to put a boundary down, and that hopefully allows the other person projecting the trauma to become aware. And we both and everybody heals together. But that's what it comes down to. First and foremost, pinpointing your trauma,
Yeah.
pinpointing the root, for lack of a better term, of the pain. Because overgiving is just a branch of that root. It's just a coping mechanism.
Hmm.
It's just a quest to feel good about myself by giving to others and having people say, "Oh, thank you." It's a sense of validation, like, "Oh, hi, thank you. You're a good person," right?
Hmm.
Um, but just because, let's, for example, mom and dad couldn't love you properly, that wasn't indicative of what you deserved. It was only indicative of what they were able to give based on their own trauma, based on their own experiences. And at the end of the day, um, look, resentment is a bitch. And I just posted about this the other day, I believe. It's so important to become aware of our shit. I mean, it comes down to deal, feel, heal. Until we can deal with what happened and allow ourselves to feel and process what happened, we can't heal from what happened. Um, yeah, I lost my train of thought on that. But anyway, yeah. That's what happens when we're just flowing here. It's just I'll start a thought, it could just kind of flee. Or you can remind me what we were just talking about, and I'll pick right up where we left
I
off.
actually wanted to say when we were talking when you were talking about the giving part too, something that I've experienced in my own life as I've like started to notice, I actually can somatically feel the difference between when I'm giving from a place of trauma and when I'm just giving freely, like with no attachment. There's a distinct difference. And actually, when I'm giving from like a place of trauma or trying to get a need filled, um, it actually feels more like taking, like I'm taking something rather than giving. Giving for me that I've started to witness in my own life is very natural. It's generous. There's no attachment to the outcome. I'm following intuition or spirit's guidance, something like that. Like it's completely different. It's freely giving from a place of love rather than giving from a place of fear. And when I do that, I feel like I'm actually taking something from the other person.
Right, right, right. Well, and I mean that could be accurate because if it's coming from any type of or any level of toxicity, it's going to be draining on some level. It's going to be dropping the frequency. So yeah, in actuality, I guess I could be seen as taking someone or something from that higher frequency. Um, but again, to your original question, you got to pinpoint the trauma because you need to see where the belief system that you have to overgive stem from.
Yeah.
Until we're aware of the wound, we can't do a damn thing about it, right? And then, typically I'd bring people through a process, which we can't really cover in the time allotted here, I'm sure. But first step, which is what you asked, is pinpoint your trauma. Pinpoint
Yeah.
your trauma, and you will see very clearly, relatively quickly, why you're doing what you're doing and why you should shift that.
Thank you
Because
for that.
especially in a situation, you're welcome. Because especially in a situation of overgiving, we're going to keep aligning with people that don't fucking appreciate it.
Yes.
You're gonna keep doing it to people that didn't see you, just like your mommy and daddy, because
Yes.
you're just aligning with the same vibrational situation. That's all it fucking is. If you
Yeah.
come from fear, you're gonna get more fear. If you
Hmm.
come from love, you'll get more love. It's all parallel, it's all relative. But
Yeah.
if you're operating from the same experience fundamentally, which is I wasn't seen or felt love from my mom and dad, well, you're gonna recreate the same experience fundamentally. It'll be a fucking uncle, a coworker, a partner. It doesn't matter. You will have the same experience of not feeling seen and appreciated and not loved properly, because that's the experience that you are coming from.
Yeah.
And you're not trying to heal it. You're trying to fix it with forcing through giving too much. So
Mm.
nothing's going to be fucking fixed there. If it's
Yeah.
based on fear, it's only going to create more fear. Fear plus fear equals fucking fear. Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love this so much. And for anyone that's listening, if it's not giving isn't your thing, like it can be anything. You can just insert whatever your thing is there because it
Oh,
just
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And giving doesn't mean mean like you're physically giving something someone.
Yeah.
It could be just taking someone's shit. You're giving of your time and energy,
Hmm.
right? Yeah. I have so many clients that even just like they hate getting on the phone with someone because all it is fucking negativity. Well, then
Hmm.
get off the drop the fuck, hang the phone up,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But you're not because you're so fucking afraid of being judged or alone.
Yes.
Meanwhile, you're sitting on a phone conversation feeling alone as fuck because you ain't enjoying it.
Yes.
They're not getting you, they're not hearing you, right? I mean, fuck.
Yeah.
The worst thing, the worst type of loneliness is to be surrounded by people and still feel lonely,
Yeah, you're
you
right.
know? And sure, if you walk away from what's not good, what you know isn't good for you, you might have some time alone, but it doesn't mean you're lonely. Loneliness comes from only not loving the one you're alone with, right?
Mm.
If you love yourself, you're not going to feel too fucking lonely. But you need to take a break because healing is an inside job. It's a solo mission, really, and for the most part. Can you be guided from somebody outside of you on how to do it? Absolutely. We all need help.
Yeah.
We all need guidance sometimes, but the actual process of truly healing, it's you facing you and dealing with you and processing what has transpired. Because at the end of the day, look, your trauma isn't your fault, but responsibility of healing it can only be on us.
Hmm.
And how this works is, okay, in the beginning it wasn't your fault, but from then on in, you've just been fucking recreating that shit out of your own subconscious because it's fundamentally what you believe you deserve. So now it is you. Now it is you bringing that shit on yourself.
Hmm.
And even if we really break it down to the depth of it, it's all of our fault because our soul chose it all,
Yeah.
right? So now, hey, that doesn't mean thanks to our abusers who, thanks for doing what you did. High five, thanks. It's not about that. It's just about realizing why things went the way they did,
Yeah.
extracting the lesson and letting go of the teacher. Because once we get the lesson, you no longer need the teacher.
Yeah, all of that's so familiar to me and has been a huge part of my journey as well. You talked a lot about this being an inside job, which I 100% know from my own personal experience. One of the things that helps me do that is meditation. Do you have a meditation practice? Yeah.
Absolutely. Not a committed one at all. But I do. Well, I shouldn't say it that way, Amy. I meditate every fucking day because I'm conscious of my thoughts as often as I can be.
Yeah.
Okay. Meditation. I'm glad you brought this up actually, because look, not everybody likes to or is designed to or wired to sit there and om for 20 minutes, right? Different strokes for different folks, so to speak. But meditation is essentially being aware of what's going on in your mind and cultivating the ability to choose it.
Hmm.
Because if you're not in control of your mind, homie, something or someone else is. It's just that fucking simple. So meditation could just be you go for a walk and you're just conscious of your thoughts. You're just choosing positive, uplifting, soul-based, soul statements, as I like to call them. You could sit there and on your walk, you can sit and stop at a pond and just stare at the fucking pond. And as each thought comes in, acknowledge it and let it go. Bring your focus back to the pond. I
Hmm.
mean, there's so many ways of, so many things we can call meditation, but no matter what you do, it's absolutely necessary to do whatever speaks to you as far as becoming aware of your thoughts and learning how to choose them.
Yeah. Yeah. You've
Because
nailed
again,
it.
as I said earlier, if we're not, someone or something else is. If we're
Yeah.
not filling our minds with love, the default fear-based ego is going to run its fucking broken record. It just is. It needs something to consciously get in the way of it and reprogram and override,
Yeah.
right? So yes, whatever form of it is, I strongly suggest, fuck it, I announce meditation is necessary. Absolutely.
Yeah. When I started meditating, oh gosh, it's been at least 16 years ago, but my practice has changed over time and deepened. I'm a huge fan
Yeah.
of Dr. Joe Dispenza's work. Um,
Hmm.
but I've experienced like just sitting in silence and just becoming the observer of my thoughts. And it's so cool. I actually love it. It's so cool to know how sometimes my personality like follows certain thoughts and then you snap your fingers and you have your conscious awareness and then you come back to the present moment. Well, you're always in the present moment, but you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
totally.
but what I love now about meditation, it's not only have that part of the process, but to go to this place of you're beyond everything. Like you're beyond the personality, beyond the ego. So you really are in the quantum field or that infinite source consciousness. And in that space, I've had like the most mystical, coolest, trippy experiences that most people would have to like, I don't know, smoke a joint or do a shroom trip or anything like that. Speaking of, are you open to that? Like, do you do any
Oh,
sort
fuck
of
yeah.
plant medicines and stuff?
Yeah, I've done ayahuasca, mushrooms. I mean, cannabis is available everywhere now. That's the one good thing Trudeau brought us, I guess. But yeah, no, absolutely. Again, with conscious intent, those things work best, especially something like an ayahuasca or mushrooms. They are intended to be medicine. So is cannabis. It's just more accessible, so it could be used more recreationally, I think. But no, absolutely. And those aren't the only ones out there, as we all know, but those are the ones that I've dabbled in mushrooms and ayahuasca and had holy shit, crazy, would do it all over again experiences every time.
Yeah,
Mhm.
beautiful. Okay,
I don't think
let's
people
talk.
should depend on that though, since that came up.
Yeah,
I don't think people should depend on those things to have their awakening, but they're there to be, and they will usually come to you organically when it's time to
yes.
actually do it. Right? You shouldn't be doing
Hmm.
ayahuasca daily or weekly or even fucking monthly, I don't think. That you're just escaping from the conscious experience of implementing and integrating your spirit into human form.
Yes.
Uh, Fucking off the spirit with ayahuasca weekly ain't doing it, man.
Yeah.
But again, definitely play a huge and beautiful part, or can at least, in someone's process.
Yeah, I always feel like you'll know if you're called to it. And I
Absolutely.
mean, I have been in the past, but right now, like I know I'm so called to, I'd rather get there through myself, through meditation, than taking something. And not that
Yeah,
it's wrong or right. It's there for everybody to choose, right? When it's right for them. Um,
absolutely.
I would love to talk a little bit more about your tour because I really want to promote the crap out of you coming to
I
Regina. And I
I
also,
appreciate that.
yeah,
I
just
do.
share.
If you
Sorry.
don't mind me interrupting,
Yeah.
though, Spirit's prompted me to share this just as a continuation on the ayahuasca thing,
Okay.
because it's a message I got at the last ceremony I did that absolutely relates to everybody. I was all of a sudden in the smallest cave, like no room, no breathing room, moving room, anything, and I could feel it. I was just in this little, we'll call it a crawl space, but it was rock, nowhere to move. And the message was, "This is hell." And not a place. There
Hmm.
was no fucking Red Devil or any bullshit like that. And since I came up, that is absolute bullshit. I hope people need to know that there is no fucking hell. There is no eternal damnation. That's a control mechanism, just like we control our kids around Christmas time every year with a naughty or nice list. It's all the same shit. This is as bad as it gets, okay? This plane of existence. Um, but the message was this contriving experience was hell. And what it means was living our a living hell is not being who the fuck you are.
Yeah.
Living hell is lack of authenticity. Living hell is living for others. Living hell is living the way you think you should live in order to get acceptance or love or whatever you might be doing it for. The
Mm.
opposite of authentic living is hell. And heaven is becoming your authentic self. Because again, we've been taught the law of attraction through The Secret. Well, here's a secret. The Secret is full of shit. You can't just sit there and envision your fucking whatever, your Ferrari, and you're going to manifest it. I mean, it just doesn't work that way. If it's for you, it'll get to you one way or another. And if it's not, it won't. Or sometimes, even if it's not for you, you'll get it to learn that it's not for you, or it didn't solve all your fucking depression problems, or whatever the case may be. The law of attraction is this: be who you're here to be. You'll do what you're here to do. You'll get what you're here to get. It's
Hmm.
alignment. It should be called law of alignment. No one's manifesting shit. Okay? You're aligning with things. Everything's out there, manifested already. It's about you're going to align with what you're aligning with based on what you fundamentally believe you deserve, nothing more, nothing less, or based on what you need to align with in order to learn the lesson at that phase of your life.
Mm.
So fuck this manifestation bullshit. Y'all are putting too much energy into nothing that's actually being manifested. If you thought of it beforehand, it might have been coming to you any damn way because it's already out there.
Hmm.
Okay? Manifestation is an egoic spiritual act. Your soul already chose all the major shit in your life. It knows exactly why you came here and who you're here to be and what you're here to do. It knows all the people you're going to cross paths with, spend time with, forever or a day or everything in between. It's all there.
Yeah.
What's not planned is how we experience it in between times,
Mhm.
which based on how we experience it, based on our thoughts, based on how we perceive it, is deciding what we align with next. That's it. No one's manifesting shit. You're aligning with what you believe you deserve or need to align with in order to learn.
Beautiful. I
Thank you.
really want to, just in my own words, capture what you said about being in the cave and the constraint and
Mm,
the hell really is us not being who we came here to be, our authentic
boom,
selves.
boom.
Um, that's gold. So thank you for sharing that with everybody.
My pleasure.
Yeah. Okay, I have. Oh yes, let's talk about your tour, and then I have a couple
Ah,
closing questions.
okay.
Where are you going? Like, maybe
Holy
share a
shit.
few of the places, like the next four places that you're going to. Um,
Sure.
yeah, I just want to invite everybody who's listening to, if there's somewhere close to you, I mean, please go see Dan. I think it's going to be an incredible experience. I already can feel the energy of it. So, yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, it's funny. You said the first four. We uh we perfectly end with you then, Soul Sister in
Oh,
Regina. February 6th, next or this Thursday, shit. Winnipeg, my hometown, sold out already. And then we go to February 24th, Merritt, BC for the first time ever, getting their first ever Soulgasm. That's already 50% sold, and these will all sell out. That's not a marketing ploy. Literally, I started this tour at the end of last year. Everything sold out. These and everything's going the same this time. And I only say that again, not as a marketing ploy. I urge people, I don't want them to, as the old saying goes, fuck around and find out. Because if you fuck around and find out with these tickets, you're going to find out there's none left.
yeah.
So, because that's what's been happening. I've been turning too many people away every market. So these will sell out because, again, I'm capping it at only 25 to 30 people, depending on the venue size, because I'm guaranteeing everybody a reading. So I really do urge people to jump on it if you're feeling the pull. Listen to your soul.
Hmm.
But February 6th, Winnipeg, February 24th, Merritt, February 26th, Kelowna, and then March 4th, Regina at Venue B.
Yes.
I think we're over a third sold now there at least. So,
Yeah.
and still a month out. So it's going to go. But um, yeah, and then beyond that, I think we're doing 18 dates between now and April.
Yeah, I also
So there's
saw
a
you're
lot
going to
more.
Lethbridge. That's where my mom lives. And actually,
Oh,
before you
yeah,
even
cool.
posted that, I was like, I should tell Dan he should go to Lethbridge.
Yeah, well, and that's one of the other one of the new markets too. First time ever in Lethbridge. We
Yeah,
got Slave Lake. I'm going back to Slave Lake, Alberta, Whitecourt, Alberta, Canmore, Calgary. Yeah, there's a few more already booked, but then there's like another 10 that will be announced shortly. That's more out east though as well.
awesome. And we'll put
Yeah,
your info in the show notes so people can find you.
thank you so much. Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're welcome. So I ask everybody this, but when you hear winning the divine lottery, what does that mean for you when you hear that?
Becoming your authentic self,
Of course
becoming
you
your
would say
soul in
that.
human form.
Yeah.
Soulgasm is winning the lottery, and what soulgasm represents is literally the act of being who you're here to be,
Yeah.
living in spirit, or sorry, living in the physical rather, as you are intended by and in spirit.
Beautiful.
Mm.
What would you say if you had to coin like the next 6 to 12 months of your life as your blank era? What would you coin that as?
Ooh, these are good questions, sister. These are good. These are up my alley. I like this shit. Especially this next year. Um, the I'm here era.
Nice. I love it. I am
I have came. The I have came era, which is a nice play on the soulgasm.
it, it sure is. All right, Dan, this has been incredible and just
It really
amazing.
has been. Thank you so much. You're fucking amazing at this, by the way, Amy. So thank you. The flow was beautiful, and I really enjoyed every ounce of it. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for listening. If you found this episode valuable, please share it with a friend.